Marathon Meeples Top 100 Games 2011. If you want to watch our entire series, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Number 20 is Curious Cargo. Now this is a game that I am really in love with. It is a 2-player only path building, kind of maze building, resource management game where you are trying to load and then deliver goods and receive them. So you're really having to watch your own board as well as the board of the other player to make sure that you can receive the goods that they can ship.
So yeah, I like this game. I find it interactive. You really have to pay attention to what the other person's doing, because if they have a big shipping fulfillment center set up, you don't really necessarily want to be giving them a lot of stuff right away. And also conversely, you're going to be looking at your board. It's good. I wouldn't go top 20, but I do like the value proposition that this game has, because it's roughly up here in Canada, it's $30, but you get a dual-sided kind of board because there's the regulars tiles and then you flip it over to purple and it's just a little bit more complex. Lots of different cards, just a ton of game in this box. So maybe I'm almost rethinking it now by saying
for value,
it's
definitely
20.
A top 20 for him. For me, I actually believe it's a top 20 game for the gameplay itself. And as you can see, this list is a blended list.
Yeah, it's definitely worth owning. There's no doubt about that.
Coming in at number 19 is The Gallerist. This is a Vita Lesota game, and it was newer to our collection for Lesota collection, and I really like the fact that you are moving meeples in and out. You can kind of steal them from other players a little bit, and you can bounce people, leave meeples behind when you're taking actions to try to get yourself some bonus actions. So there's a lot going on, even though the game itself is quite simple to follow.
Yeah, I don't think it's really all that complex once you kind of get into it, because it logistically makes a lot of sense. I do like that bouncing action because you can kind of do whatever you can afford to do in the game in terms of the currencies, but do you want to? It really boils down to that question. Do I want to be able to bump Lisa? I see she kind of has a multi-chain kind of like couple turns set up. I think overall it's a very good game. I'm glad we added it to the collection. Number 18, I hope it doesn't fall over while I'm doing it. Oh, there it shows the chips. I could hear it. Too Many Bones. So this is a chip theory game. It costs a few bucks, but I would say it is worth it for what you get in there. You get a number of characters. You get 4 characters. You get 7 bad guys. You get a number of chips. You get the neoprene, etc., 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 etc. But the gameplay is great. It's kind of just like a dice chucking RPG. Love it at solo. Love it at 3. At 2 and 4, I'm not a huge fan. And by 2 and 4, I mean actually controlling 2 characters. When we play it at 2, we play 3 characters combined because we have a better chance of winning. But I think I like the entire system. We haven't got into the numerous expansions because just inside that base box is, oh my gosh, I've played this 30 some odd times and I'm still like, I can't beat certain villains or certain combos aren't working out for me. So there's still a ton of game in there. And overall, it's provided to actually be, even though it's one of our most expensive games, one of our better value games.
Yeah, and the fact that every faction or every character plays completely differently. If you are playing solo or you're playing just 2 players and things like that, there's a lot of variation just in the combinations that you choose to use between which characters you're playing. Yeah,
and it's an amazing outdoor game because everything is waterproof and the chips are very hefty, and so is the neoprene. So even if there's a little bit of wind, you're good. If there's a little bit of sun, you're good. A little bit of rain, you're good. So great outdoor game if you play like games in the backyard in the summer like I do. Let's get down to Brass Tacks at number 17 with Brass Birmingham. I've been saving that one for you. So this is a route building economic kind of simulation game. This is basically a spiritual successor to Brass Lancashire.
And it is a 2-era game where you are first working off of canals and then building railroads to connect different cities to basically move goods and build up these different towns with different buildings. And in return, you are trying to clear off your resources so that you can flip them over for victory points. Now, the interesting part is a lot of times you can use other players' tracks and canals, so you need to be careful and watch what you're building because you don't necessarily want to help the other player too much, yet you do want to definitely take advantage of them when you can.
Yeah, I like, again, I think this list so far we've been going down we have a pretty interactive list so
Yes.
far. And I think Brass definitely kind of scratches that itch that, okay, what am I doing, but what's everybody else on the board doing, and how can I take advantage of that, and how do I not try to help them? Very simple card play as well, so it's a heavier game, but you're not just drowning in 18,000 rules. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy we got it. I'm like, oh, do we need another train game or something like that? But it plays completely differently than the other ones that we have in our collection.
Yeah, I would say it's more of an economics game.
Yes. Number 16, Terraforming Mars. This is like, do I have to explain Terraforming Mars?
I don't think so. I think if you're watching this video, you probably know this game.
Building your Terraforming Mars. It is a great game. We only own one expansion because I feel like there's enough in the box with the Prelude expansion, which is almost like a must-have. Love this game. I think I like it better solo than I actually like it at 2. I like it at 3 and 4. Probably better than I like it at 2 as well.
He thinks I slow play it and don't do enough to pull my weight to raise the temperature.
Well, you gotta have some help in terraforming. I will say that.
So therefore he speed plays it and does not enjoy playing it with me as much. But I think that's not a fault of the game. I think that's a fault of us.
Potentially, yeah. Well, the Prelude helps speed it up, and I think it's a great game. You know, even at 2, depending on if you can kind of get yourself around maybe slower terraforming engine building people. Once you start getting up on those really good, 3 and 4 player counts, I think it's almost like a must-have for your collection if you're playing at those counts at any time.
It's amazing at 2. Just find yourself a different player. Number 15 is Bonfire. This is a Steffenfeld game. I think it's a little bit less known and doesn't get as much credit as it should. This is a fabulous game in the sense that you are moving boats. You're trying to move around to collect different tiles so that you can fulfill them. You are moving a rondel to collect resources. There's a really cool resource management aspect of how you get them using action tiles. You can only have a certain amount of resources at a time, so it really makes you plan and think out your turns. You're trying to build a path, light bonfires, move your gnomes to get bonuses. So there is a lot going on in this game, and because there's a lot of randomized setup to this game, every game is going to play completely differently. As well, the actual bonuses that come out are different. So you're going to go after a different goal each time based on what shows up.
Yeah, that's my number one comment really is replayability is basically hinges on all the variability in the game. All the different kind of goals you're trying to complete, all the different kind of gnome cards, which basically just give you like game-breaking powers, all the different bonuses. So even though I'm generally trying to do the same kind of sets of actions every game, how I'm going to get there is always different. So a great game in terms of replayability and fun every time it hits the table. So I will not turn a game of this down.
Coming in at number 14 is Voyages of Marco Polo. This is a game that I absolutely loved. I love the aspect of the travel, the dice placement, and being able to trump other people by putting your dice on top of them and paying the extra amount of money if you had it. But it went out of print. And when a game goes out of print, Matthias's pockets get itchy. And he sold it on us saying, I will buy you Marco Polo 2 when it comes out. Oddly enough, Marco Polo 2 is not on our shelves.
I don't know if I want to get Marco Polo 2 now. I hear that it's not as good as Marco Polo 1. And I think the reason I traded it out, besides being out of print, is we played it 30 some odd times. And even though everything is randomized, I just felt like I'd seen what there is to kind of see there. I would love to play more games of it, and especially at cons. I think we play primarily at 2. I felt like at 2 we'd kind of done our thing, but at 3 and 4, that's right up there with Terraforming Mars is like a really amazing multiplayer game.
I will agree. When we play it at group, we truly enjoy the full experience. But nonetheless, it was a game that I knew and loved, and I knew how to play it, and I am sad it is no longer with us.
Well, sometimes you learn new things, right? Number 13, Twilight Struggle. This is head-to-head. Yes, it's one person is the USA, one person's the USSR. It's set during the Cold War. You are essentially just moving chits around the board to gain influence and playing events for world domination. Love it. Great 2-player game. Took me forever to talk her into actually playing this and bringing this in our collection. We started playing in like 2015. I think this was the #1 BGG game at that point. I'm like, come on, Lisa, let's try it. And, wouldn't go for it. Finally, I think I got it on a trade. And we've been playing it ever since. This is one of my favorite games. I love it.
And it's hard for me to admit, but it is a war game that I do enjoy. And that's taken a lot out of me.
So you don't like it when I take away your influence. Maybe that's part of it.
Yes, he enjoys removing anything I put on the board.
That's the game.
Go find a different country to
Oh boy.
take
all
over.
All right. So the less said about that one, the better. But if you like 2-player games, Twilight Struggle, right near the top.
As long as you're not playing with your spouse.
Number 12, a new addition to our collection because it was out of print forever and we couldn't get it. But now, Anachrony. Time-traveling worker placement. It's like it has this unique thing where you're kind of like borrowing from your future self and then you got to go back and pay it back. And it's really unique mechanic in that way. The amount of stuff, we just have the Essential Edition. I know they've got the original edition. Now they got this big box, Infinity box thing. The amount of game that you get in here is just ridiculous for the price point.
Absolutely.
It's $50 Canadian. And there is just so much in this box. We have one of the expansions. We haven't even opened it. There's so much here to do. There's so much variability. You have A/B sides on all the boards. All the players, all the different characters play uniquely. I really have nothing bad to say about this one.
No,
this was probably in my top 10, and we love the minis. We're not really minis people, but the minis
you
that you
need
can get
the
for these
minis
games
in this game.
are super.
They just add so much to the game and give it such table presence. But aside from the minis, what comes in the actual box, I love the fact that you send your workers out on one round, and then when you get them back at the end of the round, you have to wake them up or let them rest. You have to spend water on them if you want to. Wake them up without penalty. So there's all kinds of little nuances, things you can do that may benefit you right now, but may hurt you a little bit later if you don't take care of it and fix it. So there's just so much going on and so many different strategies to play. That game will hit our table for years to come. And
I kind of lied because we have the Anachrony Fractures of Time expansion. I have opened it, but I've only played the solo, which is awesome. But if you do get the Essential Edition, I would recommend also grabbing a copy of the Fractures of Time, which I hear is just an amazing multiplayer expansion. But if you do play solo, get that as well.
Rounding off the list at number 11 is Power Grid. This is a game that goes back to our very first con we ever went to. And it was our first kind of auction-style game I think we've ever played.
I think so.
So we really got into this game early on. We do have the deluxe version, so it doesn't work well with the other expansions out there.
Yeah,
we do have, I believe, the robot expansion to allow you to play at 2 players a little bit tighter, and we love that aspect. Mm-hmm. But overall, it is a fantastic game with more players.
Yes.
Just be aware of who you play with because it can lead to analysis paralysis in some occasions.
Yeah, that's one of my top go to a board game convention games because you can play that thing 3, 4, 5, 6. It's good, but yeah, you do want to watch out getting into. It's going to be a long game any which ways. You're going to be in 3+ hours, but it is an amazing game. I don't know how old it is at this point. It's going to be 10, 15 years old. But I would not recommend getting the deluxe edition. We got it when it first came out. They now have the recharged edition, which you can use with all the expansions and everything. So it gives you just a little more variety. But just Power Grid in and of itself as a system is near the top.
It's a fantastic resource management game. That's it for today. We will have 10 to 1 coming up soon.